What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Bluff Guy. Hey! And we are back with another One Piece reaction. Today we will be reacting to Mr. Morj, and he'll be telling us about Shanks. The title of this video is Shanks, the Sage of One Piece. My last reaction was about Shanks, you know? It was about Shanks being the guardian or the gatekeeper of the new era, right? So I feel like this video is going to be a little similar, right? Maybe slightly different with a different twist, but I think it's going to be really similar. But yeah, before we get into the reaction, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below your thoughts on the reaction. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure you guys are following me on Twitch so you can catch me live. You can engage with me in real time. And if you want to get at me directly, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and join the Discord. The Discord is going to be the best place to get at me because it's where I'm the most active. Also, if you want to send me content like the video we are reacting to today, I have a designated channel in the Discord for you guys to send me stuff, and I take stuff that's sent in my Discord priority. Unless you're a content creator that I'm like really connected with, then I'll probably take that more priority, right? And if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you are a member of the Discord because that's how you get on these streams, right? But yeah, anyway, so like I said, we're reacting to Mr. Morj. The title of this video is Shanks, the Sage of One Piece. Yeah, so everybody had their theories on Shanks. I've heard theories about him being a possible villain, or a not so good guy, right? Like I heard theories about him being a slave, like a slave trader, selling people into slavery and stuff. I heard about stuff like that. Like I said, the last video I reacted to was about him being the guardian of the new era. And I feel as though from what it seems like, based on calling him a sage, it seems like this theory might parallel or this video might parallel the Parvision Shanks video that I did last time about him being the guardian. I feel as though those two are going to kind of parallel each other, right? They're going to have kind of intersecting points and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, let's get into this video. I don't really have much to build on this, right? Because we talked about Shanks in length a lot. A lot of times it's about Shanks versus Mihawk, but and if you watch my Shanks versus Mihawk videos, you might get this idea that I'm some Shanks hater. Nah, that's not the case. Because even when I talk about Shanks and Mihawk, I still do give Shanks the benefit of the doubt based on his portrayal. I just like Mihawk more, and it tends to be a hot topic when we talk about Shanks and Mihawk. And I find a lot of Shanks fans tend to downplay Mihawk. So it's not me so much trying to get at Shanks per se, because I actually do like Shanks. It's just me kind of barking back with it's me barking back to the Shanks fans who like to downplay Mihawk. So I just want to get that across. I don't dislike Shanks. I just dislike how much a lot of Shanks fans overblow a lot of what Shanks have done in order to undersell Mihawk's greatness. You know what I'm saying? That's more so my problem with it's more with the Shanks fans, and look, I don't hate Shanks fans either. Y'all cool, but y'all just I feel as though y'all could be a little delusional at times. I'm just saying. I feel as though y'all could be a little deluded and why I say deluded is like y'all I've seen people hype up Shanks when we've seen very little feats, right? Like him showing up at Marineford and stopping the war, I look at it as more nuanced than that. You know, it's not like they were just afraid of Shanks. I think a lot of people who blow up that part, that situation, they tend to forget the fact that the Marines were just in an all-out war with another Yonko, right? So they were worn down, injured, hurt, beaten up. So it's like it just wouldn't make sense to fight another Yonko when you literally just got finished fighting a Yonko and just achieved, you pretty much just achieved what y'all all showed up there for, right? So you accomplished your mission. You know, you're worn out. So it's like, what purpose would it have served to fight Shanks other than some ego thing, right? So technically, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to say technically, factually, Sengoku was the one who stopped the war, right? Because if Sengoku didn't say no, Akainu would have probably fought, because Akainu was pretty much ready to fight. Kizaru was still pretty fresh, you know. Kizaru was pretty spotless during the war. Like, he didn't really take much damage during that war. So we still had people who were ready to fight even after Shanks showed up. It was Sengoku who had to sit there and, like, you know what? It wouldn't make sense to fight Shanks. So yes, we will agree to Shanks' term, and Sengoku, call an end to this war, right? So that's what it really was. That's what it really is. But, you know, Shanks fans are going to try to mold the narrative to fit like everybody was just afraid of Shanks. And there was a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of people who was afraid of Shanks. Don't get me wrong. But that's not why the war stopped, you know, solely because everybody was scared of Shanks. No, it was far more nuanced than that. They just fought a Yonko and his crew, so they was worn out and injured and stuff. So they wasn't in the position to fight another war, another battle against a fresh Yonko, right? They accomplished their mission, so it just wouldn't have made sense to keep fighting after you accomplished what you came there for, right? Like, fighting Shanks would have achieved nothing. You know what I mean? And yeah, pretty much and Sengoku stopped the war. He's the one who told the Marines to he more so agreed to Shanks' terms, and he was like, you know what? Yeah, we stop it. War is over. Let's go. Let everybody leave. Let's go. So that's pretty much how it is. But all right, I don't want to talk anymore. Let's get into the video from Mr. Morj. The link also will be in the description box. So y'all make sure y'all go show Mr. Morj some love.
Most every fantasy story has at least one. Gandalf, Dumbledore, Obi-Wan, Jiraiya, All Might, Gojo, the quintessential big good. In general, the actual protagonist of a story is typically going to...
I feel like I would compare, like, because he named a few characters, and I feel as though Rayleigh might actually fit that bill better. At least in some of the characters, right? Like, at least comparing characters. I'm not too familiar with, like, what's his name? Gandalf, though, so I couldn't really compare Gandalf, but Jiraiya, I feel as though Rayleigh and Jiraiya are more similar, right? Like, they got a lot more in common than somebody like Shanks and Jiraiya. But, like, as far as, like, Obi-Wan, I think there's a case to be said about Obi-Wan, and I'm kind of forgetting who else he named.
To be on a journey of growth, meaning that at the beginning of the narrative, they are not yet going to be strong enough to challenge the uppermost forces of evil that plague the world. But until that time comes, there will usually be this other figure in their place, the big good, that stands in the way of darkness, whether they are keeping villainous forces at bay.
Okay, I think I get where he's talking about, right? I think I get where he's talking about. But can we classify Jiraiya as being that guy, right? I would probably say Kakashi probably fits that role more than Jiraiya because Kakashi was more present, right? Well, Shanks isn't as present as Kakashi was. I would say, as far as presence, Shanks and Jiraiya are probably more comparable than Kakashi. But Kakashi was like that guy who he was the main force that kept all the baddies at bay until Naruto was able to surpass him versus Jiraiya. I mean, I guess you could make a case for either, though. I guess you could make a case for either.
Bay, protecting the protagonist, or simply existing as one last bastion of hope in the world that cannot easily be crushed, this figure is a common and all too important role in fiction. That is who Shanks is, and who he has always been in the story of One Piece. From the very first chapter saving young Luffy from a Sea King, to returning at the climax of Act 1 to stop the World War and yet again save Luffy from death. Across the entire span of One Piece, Shanks' role in the story was made clear in a very deliberate manner. We can trace from the starting point of One Piece to the midpoint of One Piece, all the way to even the modern day approaching the climax of One Piece. We still see Shanks upholding that role as peacekeeper, as protector, as the figure that can be trusted to ward off the great evils of this world.
I guess there's a point. I guess that's the point, right? Shanks does his best to keep balance in the world, right? Like that's why he went to Whitebeard. I don't think he included him going to Whitebeard, but he went to Whitebeard so to try to protect Ace, right? Because I believe Shanks. I believe Shanks believes that Ace was very important, especially to the current era of piracy. I have a theory. Well, again, it's not my theory, but it's a theory I do kind of believe in. I believe after Shanks got the gum fruit, well, this part of the theory is kind of something I came up with, right? I believe the gum fruit, right? The fruit that Luffy ended up eating. I think, like, especially after we learned about the true nature of the gum fruit and it being the Hito no Mi Nika, right? I believe the devil fruit called out to Shanks and Shanks got it. And after Shanks got it, I think it's a possibility that Shanks knew the true nature of the gum fruit. Like I think he might have known that it was the Hito no Mi Nika. And therefore knowing that and knowing the importance of that devil fruit, possibly, we don't know yet, it's not confirmed. Possibly knowing the importance of that devil fruit, I think he intended to give it to Ace. Right now, in this part of the theory, this part of the theory is not mine. Right, the part where it was him going to, was it Fuchsia Village, to look for Ace to give him that devil fruit. That part's not mine. But the part where I say the devil fruit actually called out to Shanks, and like I said, from what we heard, the devil fruit has a level. It has like a mind of its own. It has a will of its own. So it seems like it has a level of sentience, right? I think that the devil fruit was fated or destined to go to Luffy, right? I just think Shanks didn't realize that and he wanted to give it to Ace. You know what I'm saying? So I think, because we know that the Gumu no Mis, aka the Hito model Nika, what we know is it has, based on what the Gorosei said, it has been evading the world government for what, like 800 years. So it seems like the devil fruit could avoid you if it wanted to, or go to you, or it seemed like it could at least avoid you if it wanted to. If it seems like you're not meant to be, it avoids you. So if that's the case, maybe if you're chosen, if you're the chosen one to consume it, maybe it finds a way to get to you. You know what I mean? And we know Shanks had the devil fruit, and again, there's speculation that Shanks intended to give that to Ace, which I do believe. I do actually believe that. But I think the devil fruit was fated to go to Luffy, because I think the devil fruit itself intended to go to Luffy. You know, Shanks just didn't realize that.
Beginning to middle to even this penultimate stage of Luffy's journey, just before it is time for Shanks to step aside and for Luffy to pass him up, just before this final changing of the guards, we see Shanks continuing to watch over his protege just a little bit longer. And yet, out of the many characters throughout fiction that we have seen play the same role as Shanks.
And you know something, just kind of feed off what I just said. When Luffy did eat the devil fruit, right? Maybe that's when Shanks realized that Luffy was the one, right? Because I want to say after that was when he saved Luffy from the Sea King and sacrificed his arm. And then years later, you know, he get that meeting with Whitebeard, and Whitebeard talks about him losing the arm, and he said, "I bet it all on the future." So if that's true, what Shanks said, and in that moment he was betting on Luffy, there had to be something Luffy did to showcase to Shanks that he was the fated person, or the chosen one, you could say. I know people don't like that. I personally don't like saying that. Like, I don't want there to be a chosen one in One Piece, but kind of seems like it's the case, right? It seems like Luffy has always been the chosen one. And in any form of media, when you got a main character, it's kind of like they are the chosen one, right? Because they're the one who's going to win at the end. Like, we all know that. That's pretty much always the situation. So yeah, I would say the moment he realized Luffy was the one, it might have been when Luffy ate that devil fruit. You know, because he probably realized the devil fruit wouldn't allowed him to be consumed by Luffy if it wasn't meant to be.
Shanks does in One Piece, what is it that makes Shanks' character in particular so beloved? Why is it that he commands such overwhelming popularity among readers, with by far the least amount of screen time of any major character in the series? It's easy to write it all off as just hype, but Shanks is a deceptively well-written character, a crucial cornerstone of One Piece.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shanks is definitely a well-written character. And look, I get it. You know, I get why people love Shanks. I like Shanks. I love Shanks, right? You know, I think, you know, like him and Mihawk to me are kind of synonymous. You know what I'm saying? So I love Shanks. I just like Mihawk more. I just like Mihawk more. Let's be serious. But yeah, I do like Shanks, and I get why people love him. You know what I'm saying? And I get why people like him more than Mihawk. Mihawk hasn't been portrayed as favorably as Shanks has, you know.
That is a necessity to the ideas of the series and the point of Luffy's story. The nuances to how Shanks is portrayed, and more importantly how he is used, are criminally underrated, as Shanks may be one of the best examples in storytelling of how less is more. Which is why today we're going to be breaking down the brilliance of one of...
That is definitely fact, and that's partially why I like Mihawk, because like even to this point, we haven't really seen much of Mihawk. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to say the most we've seen of Mihawk was when he fought Zoro the first time, and Marineford. And in either of those situations, I don't believe Mihawk really gave... I only think Mihawk gave us a fraction of what he can really do. You know, I don't think... Like, Mihawk wasn't trying... Like, a lot of people like to count Marineford against him. Bro, the dude barely was sweating the whole time. Like, he barely perspired. He barely had, like, a worried look or anything. It was just like... to him, it was just going through the motions. You know what I'm saying?
One of One Piece's first and greatest characters. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. So to begin with, what makes Shanks so inherently likable? At its core, it comes down to a simple combination of traits that is universally beloved: great power combined with great humility. People are naturally drawn to characters that are absurdly strong but choose to present themselves as incredibly mild-mannered and gentle. There is a famous phrase by Theodore Roosevelt, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." And that phrase represents Shanks in a nutshell. And while you may not necessarily approve of the United States' actual practices in foreign affairs, the idea behind the phrase is at the very least very appealing. To be capable of unstoppable force if you are pushed to it, but to never need to show that side because diplomacy and kindness is what you choose to represent. The reason people naturally love this idea is simple. It's because this is the type of person many people subconsciously aspire to be like. True strength.
That's actually a good point, right? That's actually a good point that people want to aspire to be Shanks. Cause like you said, Shanks he's super strong, right? Like from in the beginning, you probably wouldn't even realize how strong he was in the beginning. But no, I would say you would, cause like this moment right here, the fact that he let the bandit, what's his name, Haragamo or whatever his name is. Haragamo was doing all that stuff, and then after the fact, he was kind of laughing about it, and you're like, yo. It's this saying where it's like, the strong, they have like true power is when you can have grace. It's something like that. It's like true power is when you can hurt somebody, but you don't because you don't want to, right? When like weaker people feel like they have to, throw their weight around, you know what I mean? Because it's more of an insecurity. Where Shanks, he knew he could beat this guy, right? But it's like, we're like, I'm not tripping, he just barking. He just barking. Like, honestly, like this scene, looking at this scene, it's almost like it was such a great scene because it really shown how this guy Haragamo or whatever, the mountain bandit, how him and Shanks were like the polar opposites, right? Where Shanks was like humble, he wasn't doing all this barking or anything. He was even like letting the guy do all the barking. But Shanks is strong, right? Shanks is a strong individual. Where this guy, he was weak, but yet he was super loud, super obnoxious, doing all this barking, being extra spicy and all that stuff. So it's like you got two opposite ends of the spectrum. One guy who's strong but humble, and the other guy who's weak and loud. You know what I mean?
Strength can be described as being unaffected and unworried by anything, because you are so secure in yourself that you have very little need to show off how strong you are, to enforce your will on others, or even act intimidating. Shanks represents this sort of fantasy ideal of being able to command great respect if he so chooses without ever needing to act tough, instead calmly evoking warmth and kind-heartedness. This persona of Shanks is so interesting because One Piece in particular is full of these dominating conqueror's haki users, those with the disposition of the king. In the aggressive...
And I like how he said the disposition of the king. That's what I'll be saying, bro. It's about having a kingly disposition, right? You gotta have a kingly... To be a conqueror, or to have conqueror's haki, you have to have a kingly or conquering disposition. I also wanted to say I kind of find it odd, right? I kind of find it odd where we got Shanks, who we would look at as one of the goodest people, morally just, righteous individuals in the series. The first time we see a man get killed was from Shanks's crew. And that was probably one of the only times, one of few times that we actually seen somebody get killed, right? Like literally just get killed, get taken out, get deleted. I mean, there's other times where we could speculate that people might have died, like when all those people that Zoro be chopping up. Are they dead? Are they not? We don't know, right? We don't know. We don't know if Zoro actually kills these people, because it looked like he's just kind of like throwing them around, right? And not like actually slashing them and killing them. but or cutting through them, were like they're like these fatal injuries, but they should be dead. Like the ones that Zoro be cutting up, they should be dead technically, but we don't know if they actually did. How the anime and the manga portrays it, it don't seem like he's actually killing people. But Shanks though, like, or Lucky Roo specifically, but a member of Shanks' crew of all people killed somebody. Like, let that sink in. Like, it ain't like Kaido. Like, if it was a member of Kaido's crew or Kaido himself that killed somebody, okay. Blackbeard, same as him. Big Mom, same as her. Shanks. Shanks.
Hyper-competitive world of pirates, it seems as though no one wishes to appear soft and gentle. Think through all the Conqueror's Haki users we know, from Whitebeard, to Kaido, to Big Mom, to Doflamingo, to Kid, to Boa Hancock, on and on. The One Piece world is filled with big egos. People who are always one step away from breaking out into a fight, always ready to...
I think Whitebeard is a bit, like lax. Like I don't look at Whitebeard as having a huge ego. I think Whitebeard, he has a dream. He's kind of he was, like, I would say in the end days of his life, he was actually living his dream, right? Like his dream was to have a family, and his crew was pretty much his family. He called them his sons. So I don't look at Whitebeard as having a huge ego, Like, yeah, he's a little tough he has a tough exterior, don't get me wrong, but he's not like somebody who's just like mean-spirited and has to flex his ego all the time. It just, I think if he feels though he has to, he will. You know what I mean? He's a bit tough on the outside. The man has probably been through, like, we don't know what the man's been through, but I can only speculate that he's been through a lot to make him, to have toughened him up, And I guess you could say the same for Shanks, but Shanks also is part of Roger's crew, and Roger's pretty much a fun-loving guy. So I think Shanks got his fun-loving side from being around Roger all the time.
To flex their dominance over others. Even the light-hearted Luffy is not exempt from this. We have seen time and again that he too will get caught up in the competition of who is the most alpha anytime that he feels like he's at risk of being shown up by someone he considers a rival. And yet, among all these huge ego...
I mean, I think Shanks has had his moments. As well, as a kid, he's had his moment. 'Cause I think him and Buggy was kind of like that. How Luffy is with his rivals, I think Shanks and Buggy were similar to that. So, but that was as a kid. Shanks has grown a lot. But we also gotta account, we haven't seen a lot of Shanks to really understand his how he really is, I guess. Like like with his rivals, like, yeah, we could, Mihawk is his rival, but at this point they're not really doing the whole rivalry like that. So they're at a point where I guess they could kind of be friendly, more on friendly terms. But when they were rivals, I would argue that Shanks probably was kind of like how Luffy is with Law and Kid. And I will also argue that Shanks was an adult at the time. So it's not like you could use Shanks being a kid like how he was with Buggy. But, I'll take his point. I'll legitimize his point, because there's nothing to argue that he is like Luffy in that sense.
Egotistical personalities, you have Shanks. This unperturbed, unassuming, but unwavering tree amidst a storm of personalities. If we were to treat the word alpha seriously for a moment, well, the most alpha thing one can do is to not care whether or not people treat you like the alpha. And that is the essence of Shanks.
I gotta disagree with that. Because alpha, that is actually a personality trait with alphas. They actually, they like leading people, and they actually do care about how people like perceive them, I guess. Like they want to be looked at as like they want to be looked at how they look at themselves. They want other people to look at them the same, where like there's this thing called a Sigma male, which is a little different. But I don't even know if I would consider Shanks as a Sigma. I would say Shanks is more of an alpha because he's more of that leader. Sigmas are more like loners. They're more like lone wolves. Like I would say Mihawk is more of a Sigma, right? But I would say Shanks is alpha. But what he said about alphas, I want to disagree with that specific statement. Let me kind of rewind it a little bit just to kind of catch what he said again, just to make sure I heard it correctly.
Not care whether or not people treat you like the alpha. And that is the essence of Shanks. He can likely go people treat you like the most alpha thing one can do is to not care whether or not people treat you like the alpha. And that is the essence of Shanks.
I definitely disagree.
He can likely go toe-to-toe with anyone in the One Piece world, and yet he has never, ever played the ego game. It does not matter who is insulting him or talking down to him, whether it is a fellow Yonko like Whitebeard or a lowly mountain bandit in East Blue. Shanks lets any disrespect roll off his back because he has nothing to prove. If someone comes,
yeah, I don't think alphas would just let people disrespect them like that. Like by definition of how an alpha character, I don't think they would. Now, like again, alpha is not like an all-encompassing thing. They're, different alphas might be a little different, but like some might be more lenient to that. But I don't think that's like a trait though, just to let people disrespect you. I don't think that is a alpha trait. You could be an alpha and do that, but I don't think that is a characteristic of a alpha when you just look at an alpha in the vacuum or something.
To him specifically looking for a fight, in that case Shanks won't back down, but he himself will never jump to violence for no reason. And that's what makes it all the more exciting when those rare occasions come, when this quiet, unassuming man finally rolls up his sleeves and ever so briefly reminds everyone of who he is, while still maintaining the utmost restraint without ever truly coming to blows with anyone, with just the briefest reminder to others that he can get serious if need be. Shanks is able to literally shift the world. That is a compelling character. And Oda plays into this character concept hard. Even the style in which Shanks fights plays into this persona. There is nothing grandiose about Shanks. Whereas other emperors and admirals are towering figures with overwhelmingly powerful abilities. Earthquakes, magma, storms, and so on. Shanks is made to feel simple, just a sword and his spirit. This extends to his design as well. He is
sounds like a swordsman to me. Must we go back to the whole Mihawk versus Shanks debate? No, I'm just playing.
Remarkably plain looking by the standards of One Piece top tiers. That is a concept that readers can latch onto. It may be hard to imagine yourself as a giant, larger-than-life figure who can make earthquakes like Whitebeard, but I imagine a lot of One Piece readers would like to believe that they would be someone like Shanks if they were dropped into this fantasy world. And this emphasis on
nah, for real though, most One Piece fans would be more like Usopp. I'll say about 90% of One Piece fans will be like Usopp and Nami or something. You know what I mean? Shanks, nah. Shanks is still larger than life. Let's not sit here and downplay Shanks. Shanks is still larger than life. He's more realistic larger than life. So I do agree with Mr. Morj there. But he's not realistic to be. Like, he's still a beast of a man and still a big deal, right? Like most people would be more like Usopp if they were dropped into One Piece, or maybe even like Sanji, right? Maybe even like Sanji to a degree, maybe just not as strong as Sanji, but because Sanji, I would say Sanji has some, his character wise, he's a bit more realistic as well, to a degree, but he's still strong as hell. But if you look at strength in character, I'm saying most people are going to be like Usopp.
Simplicity actually even applies to how Oda delivers Shanks' ideologies. A lot of One Piece's writing and messaging is very dramatic, marked by grand statements and grand gestures. Someone like Hiruluk proudly proclaiming that a man only dies when he is forgotten as he kills himself with spectacle. Blackbeard yelling in the middle of the streets about how a man's dream never dies. Doflamingo delivering a theatrical monologue in the middle of a raging battle on the nature of justice. This is One Piece's signature style, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this type of messaging. If anything, it makes for more profound moments. But think about Shanks for a moment in comparison. Shanks delivers far more grounded and soft wisdom. It's not worth it to get into a fight over some spilled drinks. It's okay to cry after a loss. It's only through knowing both victory and defeat that a man truly grows up. When Shanks expresses his ideas, it's not delivered with the same trademark One Piece exuberance. He is almost sage-like in his dialogue, and I particularly like how his style of phrasing often has this sort of understated gravity to it. A few seconds of courage have changed the future. Everyone help me save some face. Wouldn't you agree it's bad form to go after these young saplings after they've just made pirate history? Again, speaking softly, but carrying a big...
I like how you said that to a guy who is like a plant man or like a forest guy, right? Like like saying, hey, don't treat these saplings like that. Like, he spoke to him in a way that he should be able to understand. Like, he was speaking Green Bull's language.
Stick. But all that being said, looking back throughout One Piece, it's not just Shanks' personality, his actions, his design, and dialogue that make him such a beloved character. It's not even just the fact that they stand out in such stark contrast to all other notable figures in the world. It's the rarity of Shanks' moments. Less is more. Anytime Shanks appears, it is for something important, often a milestone moment. Anytime he gets serious, you know that it is a pivotal time in the story. Anytime someone as pacifistic and compromising as Shanks gets angry, it carries a tremendous weight. There is a mystique and presence to Shanks that comes from the selective use of the character. So much power, but such a reserved and enigmatic and distant personality. This plays into the sense of general hype surrounding...
It's like, I get where he's going on. It's kind of like they say, like when somebody who doesn't, like, you have like a quiet guy, but when he talks, his words are way more meaningful, right? Like, you have this quiet guy who may hardly talk, but when he does talk, people listen, and his words are way more meaningful because he only talks when it's something meaningful, right? Like, he doesn't just speak just to speak. You know, that's kind of Shanks in a nutshell.
The character as well. We haven't really seen him fight, but we've been given so many ambiguous moments that feed into this sort of undefinable aura around the character. Sengoku respects him enough to stop the war. Blackbeard respects him enough.
Thank you. I'm glad you worded that moment like that. Sengoku stopped the war. I'm glad you worded it like that, you know.
Enough to stop his rampage. The Gorosei respect him enough to allow him to walk into Marijua. Green Bull respects him enough to leave Wano. It's the mysterious question mark of what can Shanks...
I think Green Bull was scared. I think that's all that was with Green Bull. Green Bull was just scared. And you could probably say the same thing for Blackbeard as well. Blackbeard was just scared of Shanks. Even though, yeah, Blackbeard does have that I don't know. Could we say he's scared of Shanks? Cause I'm thinking, man, like Blackbeard was strong enough to give Shanks that scar and kind of worry Shanks, right? So this whole time has Blackbeard been just as strong and capable as Shanks, but he just doesn't like fighting unless he feels though he could win for certain. Like, he's capable of beating strong characters. It's just he doesn't like taking the chance. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know.
Shanks do. Not knowing and leaving it to the reader's imagination is inherently more exciting. What happened when Shanks and Kaido faced off during Marineford? We don't know. All we know is Shanks showed up at Marineford and Kaido didn't. And Kaido now ranks Shanks alongside the likes of Roger and Whitebeard. It's that sort of writing around Shanks that makes him such a fixation for so many fans. So taking all of that into account, the bigger question is, why?
I also want to say that moment as well about Kaido and Shanks. And I'm not going to talk like what he said because he didn't assume that Shanks beat Kaido. He stated what happened, right? The facts. Like, we know that Kaido wanted to go he was trying to go challenge Whitebeard during the whole Marineford thing, but Shanks intercepted him. Shanks showed up at Marineford. Kaido didn't. What happened? What happened? I don't think they fought. You know, a lot of people would believe that Shanks beat Kaido. I don't think that's the case, because I think even if Shanks did beat Kaido, I severely doubt that Shanks would have not had any type of injury, any type of bruise, right? Like he would have at least showed up with a little damage, some bandaging, something, right? Something. I think it was more of a negotiation thing that happened. Maybe, you know, because Kaido seemed like he really wanted to be the one to kill Whitebeard, possibly. But Kaido wasn't planning for Shanks, though. Like, Kaido wasn't, you know, his goal wasn't to fight Shanks. It was to go fight and kill Whitebeard. Like, seize that opportunity. He's seen the opportunity, right? He's seen the opportunity. So, Shanks intercepted Kaido. And Kaido was put in a situation where it was like, look, my goal is to get the Whitebeard. But I'm not going to be able to get the Shanks. Or I'm not going to get the Whitebeard with Shanks in my way. Shanks ain't going to just let me go, right? And Shanks probably offered him some alcohol or something. It was like, hey, Kaido, I'm not going to let you intercept. So how about you take this alcohol and you go back to your island? You know, I think it was stated that Shanks come from an island where it's like the best alcohol or something. Or maybe Shanks said his favorite alcohol is from his island. I don't really remember. But I think that was when him and Whitebeard met. I can't remember what they exactly said. But and Kaido was like, you know, Shanks ain't gonna let me get the Whitebeard. If I try to get the Whitebeard, I'm gonna have to fight Shanks, and that's gonna be a long, drawn out fight that by the time we're done, the war might be over by the time I get there. Like, even if I do defeat Shanks and kill him, by the time I get to Marineford, it's gonna be for nothing, right? Or I could just take the alcohol and go home. I think that's how it went down personally. That's how I believe. Something similar to that effect.
Why does it matter that Shanks is written in such a manner? Why does it matter that Oda builds up the ideal, the mythos of Shanks so much in the reader's minds? It's not just to have a cool, exciting character lurking in the background. It's the fact that Shanks is meant to be the ultimate representation of the correct ideals of One Piece. Yes, Luffy is also that. Luffy is the protagonist after all. But whereas Luffy is the ultimate representation of freedom, Shanks is the model figure in terms of the correct path by which to live life. The lessons Luffy learns throughout the story, that the world is a dangerous place and he must become stronger if he wants to challenge it, that not everything is worth fighting about and there is strength to being peaceful, that protecting one's friends is the most important.
I'm telling you, when Shanks die, people, that's going to devastate people. When Shanks die, it's going to devastate people, especially Luffy, of course. But I'm just talking about One Piece fans. I'm talking One Piece fans.
Important thing that is worth fighting for, that defeat and loss are a natural part of life and that one must use them to become stronger. These are all ideas that Shanks already knows and represents from the start. Shanks is always presented as a character that truly understands the world. He understands the values that matter. He is always presented as the voice of reason and truth amidst chaos, a man that everyone listens to. Whereas many other characters in One Piece serve to impart lessons, the idea is that even these figures are usually flawed and imperfect. Characters like Hiruluk, Otohime, Saul, and so on are often naive in their own ways that end up being their downfall. Shanks is the one figure in One Piece that you can point to that seems as though he is Oda's representation of someone that is enlightened. Possibly the strongest and most certainly the wisest pirate left on the sea, the ideal that Luffy is chasing. Shanks seems like Oda's most realistic depiction of the right way to live life because he is the man who has it all together. Again, Luffy is the embodiment of freedom for the reader, but Luffy is also meant to be read as an extremely exaggerated version of this ideal, basically acting extremely recklessly and never hesitating to do even the most boldest and most rash and most taboo of things. With Luffy, we are supposed to take away a message, but not necessarily copy how he acts in the real world. Shanks is the more relatable model image of a free the fully realized, enlightened pirate that is being presented to the reader from the start of the story. Think about all the messages that he brings. Chase freedom and adventure. Chase your dreams. Don't chase conflict for no reason. Live humbly and graciously. Place a great value on peace, but know that there are times when you cannot back down. Always defend the people you care about, and know that it is okay to cry, to fall short, to have to get back up again and continue to become stronger. Shanks is the...
I think one value I would probably give to Shanks that I believe that he have, I can't like confirm it. I don't think it's confirmed. But I also think Shanks believes in balance. I think he's somebody who thinks balance is the right way to go. I think, because I don't think Shanks wants to like rid the world of the world government. I firmly believe that Shanks might believe that the world government is somewhat needed, and the world government doesn't have to come at like the current regime. It just, there needs to be some level of order, and I believe that Shanks knows that there needs to be some level of order. That's why the world government, a lot of people in the world government, that's why they respect him. The Gorosei was willing to have a meeting with him, and Shanks went to the Gorosei. It's not like Shanks is picking fights with the world government, or the Gorosei. No, he usually lets them be. Now, if they were to do something he doesn't agree with, yes, he's going to interfere himself in it. But I firmly believe Shanks does believe that there needs to be some governing body that establishes and maintains order, like the world government. Now it could be a new world government that actually treats the citizens much better, or it could be the current one. But I firmly believe Shanks believes that there needs to be some level of order, like balance, right? Some freedom, some order. I don't think, and I'm not saying I believe that Shanks agrees with everything the world government does. I'm sure there's some stuff he doesn't like about the world government, and if he could, he would change. But he understands that they're kind of a necessary evil in the current world, at least. So, yeah.
The model image from Chapter 1, not just for Luffy, but for the reader. The representation of the right type of pirate, the right type of person we can all aspire to become. So let me know your thoughts on Shanks in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like and subscribe, and you can get my Extended Thoughts podcast by becoming a member. Just hit the button below.
Alright, shout out to Mr. Morj. Give him a like. I'm shocked. I'm not subscribed to this man. Wow, I thought I was. Sorry, Mr. Morj. I thought I was already subscribed to you, my guy, but I definitely subscribe now. So, because I've reacted to a few of his videos. So, and usually if it's a content creator that I like, I'll definitely subscribe to him. Or just a content creator that makes, interesting comment or content, right? And I've heard some of Mr. Morj's stuff, and I like Mr. Morj. I like his content. So there's that. But yeah, so make sure you guys show Mr. Morj some love. But yeah, bro. So again, I think a lot of these points, we kind of been through, just kind of a different perspective, coming at it from more of a sage point of view than the Guardian. But I don't think they're that much different. Like the video we watched from Parvision, like his arguments and some of the stuff he said was different, don't get me wrong, than Mr. Morj. But ultimately, I believe that they're similar conclusions, Parvision, Mr. Morj. It's a guy who ultimately wants the best, right? He ultimately wants the best for, in more of a macro sense, for the world, right? And he's kind of ahead of everybody as far as understanding what needs to happen, in order to to maintain somewhat of this equilibrium that the world is living in, right? So yeah, Shanks is definitely a character who I believe is trying to keep balance in the world. That's kind of my argument, or not my argument, but my translation. Like, I don't think Parvision and Mr. Morj really talked about that, and maybe they don't think that's what Shanks is trying to do. Maybe they don't think he wants balance. Maybe they believe he wants a better world, right? That could be the case as well. I personally would say that I think Shanks is looking to keep a level of balance. And when I say balance, I mean a level of order with a level of freedom. Because the thing with freedom, right? The thing with freedom, too much freedom creates chaos. And chaos isn't always beneficial to everybody. You know what I mean? Like chaos, like the strong usually they usually do the best in chaos, right? But like the weaker people, they tend to be the ones who are victimized when you got chaos happening, right? Because you got a bunch of people doing whatever they want. So the strong people, or a lot of the strong people with evil intent, they're going to use their strength to oppress the weaker, right? They're going to use their strength to oppress their weaker. So there has to be a level of order, is what I'm saying, right? And I always compare two characters. We got Luffy, then we got Blackbeard. And I think both of them symbolize freedom, but freedom in different ways. I think Luffy's freedom is more of a people do what they want, but as long as it doesn't hurt people, right? As long as they're not hurting people or oppressing people. But he does believe that people should have the ability to travel if they want, to pretty much do what they want, live freely, right? Where Blackbeard, his vision of freedom is more anarchy. You know what I'm saying? It's more of the strong survive, the weak shall perish. Dog eat dog. I think that's Blackbeard's vision of freedom, where Luffy's vision of freedom is just being able to live freely and happily, for anybody without anybody oppressing others. You know what I'm saying? And Shanks, like I think Shanks would probably go more with the Luffy version, but like Mr. Morj said, Shanks is a better representation of what that means, what that kind of freedom means. Where Luffy is a little more exaggeration. You could say Luffy's more in the middle of Shanks and Blackbeard, right? As far as their interpretation of what it means to be free. You know what I mean? Because Luffy's a little more extreme with his ideology, where I think Shanks is more balanced in that case. But yeah, so that pretty much is the video, y'all. Shout out to Mr. Morj. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Anything that I said, anything that I missed, let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure you guys are follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch so you can catch me live and you can engage with me in real time instead of just the YouTube comment section. If you want to get at me directly, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and join the Discord. That's usually where I'm the most active, so you could you'll probably get a quicker response in the Discord if you get at me in Discord. And if you want to send me content like the video we reacted to today, make sure you join the Discord. I have a channel that is designated for you guys to submit content to me. If you're a content creator, same. If you want me to react to your video, make sure you're part of the Discord and you could submit your content in the Discord. And if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you're a member of Discord, because you must be in order to get into the discussion. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.